It's October. I have a ton of new makeup to show you, so we're going to be doing a goth-inspired look with the BellaBeauteBar Vamp palette. Let's start with some lip prep. City Beauty provided us with a lot of goodies. They gave us an overnight oil. You may remember that the City Lip Plumping Lip, I don't like the smell of it, but this is very pleasant. It's a little citrusy and it's not at all gross. It also has a very interesting applicator. I don't know if it actually plumps or if it's just like supposed to be a treatment plumper, but like this is so much better. If you are deciding to go with a City Lips product, do this. Don't do this. And one of you made fun of me in the comments and you were like, and you proceed to apply it anyway. I think it's gross, but it doesn't mean I can't can't use it. I don't think it's a bad gloss. It's a reprehensible smell. It's so gross. Like, I don't like the smell of it. Okay, we'll start with skin. I think that's a mistake. I was sent a whole PR package from CoverGirl. They sent me 6 primers. I chose to use 2 of them, and then I will find new homes for the other ones. I did swatch them all, and I think these are the ones that make the most sense to me. There was one that was called Velvet Blur, and you know I love Blur, but it was a little bit of a soft matte finish. So what I thought we could do with the 2 that I decided to keep, we could put one on each half of my face. One will have a visible difference, or should, and then the other one we'll figure out if I like it. These are their skin enhancer primers. So I have Plush Plump, which is the same color as the City Lips Plumper. So it's the color of I also have Cashmere Calm. I don't know how much these cost. I will put that on the screen for you. CoverGirl stuff tends to vary widely in price depending on where you buy it. I haven't used a green color correcting primer in some time. I'm gonna put that on the right side of my face. The texture of these are really nice. I would say they're pretty lotiony. I think it'll work for me, but it definitely is more green pigmented than my Chanel color corrector. It's leaving a bit of a green cast. I feel like whenever I use the Chanel color corrector, I don't feel as though it leaves like a sickly cast. The color corrector from Chanel has a pretty strong white base in it. And I do think this one also has a strong white base in it, but it is just like a bit of a different color. I tried the color correcting primer from Makeup Forever and I did finish that. The texture of that was so much nicer and I felt like it just took a lot of work to blend this into the skin. Do you feel like this half of my face is green? There is something to a very nice version of this kind of color correcting primer that when you put it on your face, it doesn't do that. Of course, there's like a little bit of green, but like on the parts where you're not red, it normally leaves a more natural looking cast. I don't think that this is something that if I put it on my face and walked out the door, anyone would be like, that person looks sickly. The Makeup Forever one, I could wear kind of just as like just a primer and then not put anything on top of it and it didn't look like my face was green. I do think that my skin feels nice and ready for makeup. I did my skincare many hours ago and I do feel like it did some decent color correcting on the high points of my cheek, which I always feel is like where I have the most redness. Let's try Plush Plump. There were highlighters in the collection, but they were pretty sparkly. And after I washed off my hand was covered in like micro shimmer particles. I don't think that will be for many people. It didn't last as a highlighter. Like it didn't work like the Glow Lust or the Charlotte Tilbury Flawless Filter. I think it would work really well as a glowy primer. I don't think it would work on top of makeup. I think it's going to be better for someone who wears really minimal makeup and wants a soft glow. I feel like whenever I applied it, I couldn't see the micro shimmers. I only could see them after I washed off my hand. This formula has more of a gel texture. It's melting into my skin a lot easier than the green one did. I think I like the way that my skin feels on this side versus this side. You know, I just applied this one, but it was kind of instantaneous on this side of my face. I feel like this side's also a bit tackier. There was like a Milk Makeup Hydro Grip inspired one that was supposed to be tacky. From what I recall of the Milk Makeup Primer, which I haven't used in a couple of years, it was not as tacky as I recall that being. The green color correcting side definitely feels a lot nicer. Not really sure what this one is supposed to do. I just liked the idea of a plumping primer. I feel like the Victoria Beckham primer gives me a little bit of that plumping effect. And I don't really know that I'm like getting that with this one. My redness looks better on the side with the green color corrector. This will also help us with some coverage for the foundation we're going to use today. And it's a doozy. I've not tried it yet. We're trying this together. It's the Patrick Ta Major Skin Hydra Luxe Luminous Skin Perfecting Foundation. I have the shade 6 Neutral. I just took the swatch footage that you just saw. The consistency of this, I feel like if you get too much of it, it's not really this thick, but have you ever gotten peanut butter on your finger and you, instead of just taking maybe I'm the only person who does this. When I say like a little bit of peanut, like, you know, like a little bit of peanut butter, like it just gets on your pinky or something whenever you were like getting the peanut butter out to put on your peanut butter and jelly. And instead of trying to wipe it off with a napkin, you just try to rub it into skin as if that's going to work. No one? Y'all are lame. It is a thicker formula. It almost feels like a nighttime moisturizer. That is the thickness of it. I don't know that I've ever felt a foundation this thick that wasn't meant to be full coverage, which I don't think that this one is meant to be. Shout out to Kelly Gooch. Kelly had some extra shades of this and she gave one to me and one to Lauren. I don't know if this will be the best shade match for me. Of the two that I tried, it is the best shade match for me. Actually, it blended really well into my skin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just apply it to half of my face. I have watched some reviews on this. I know that some people have been loving it and some people have been hating it. I have been hearing that people with dry skin have been enjoying it more than people with oily skin. Based on just like the consistency of it, that makes a lot of sense to me. On the other hand, I who have nothing, I who have nothing. I tend to like skincare that is designed for people with dry skin, even though I myself have oily skin. So what I like to look for in a foundation is I like light coverage, light to medium coverage, and I am looking for a blur more than I am looking for coverage. So what I hope to see is a soft filter effect from an application of foundation. And keep in mind that I do have a little bit of coverage from the primer on this half of my face as well. I don't think it's gonna play too much into it. I have heard that Patrick Ta himself has said people with oily skin might not like this. And I can tell right away why that might be. It's a strong glow that was not there before this. I'm not sure if this is a foundation that is going to take well to being set with powder. I always set my face. I like the coverage of it, and I actually think it's a really good match. I just talked about the Sigma skin tint yesterday, and I felt like the luminosity of that felt more like put on in the formula rather than feeling like my skin looked like it just had skincare applied to it. I do feel as though this formula is like the opposite of that. I feel like this looks more like I freshly put on skincare and I have very good skin after I put that on. I feel like trend-wise that this formula, based on just applying it to half my face, it's maybe a couple of years too late. I think a lot of us right now, I'm not trying to speak for everyone, I just feel like everything right now is kind of being played right down the middle, which I do appreciate that this feels like it was distinctly made for a specific skin type. But I just feel like this formula foundation, just based on the way that my skin's looking, I think would have done really well 2 years ago. And people would have liked this look even if it might not have been suited for their skin type. Like, because people are really trying to do this. Oh, it looks a little bit green. I think we know why it looks a little bit green. It's not making my pores look terrible, but it's not doing a lot of smoothing. It's feeling to me more like it's selling itself on natural looking coverage, glow, skin, like that skincare glow. But I don't feel like it's doing soft filtering. I just feel like I have a little bit of coverage and my skin looks healthy, maybe like a little bit of plumping happening. I think it like looks good. It's not looking super sweaty now that it's been on my face for a bit. It's not really transferring. I was kind of expecting it to transfer. But yeah, now that it's set, it's looking a little more natural. I think that for me, it's going to take to powder actually quite well. We'll see how it does on this side with the primer I didn't like as much. This was only one pump of the foundation that I've put all over my face. Normally I need like a pump and a half to 2 pumps to do my whole face. But this has a really nice spread to it. I don't feel like I need a ton of it to cover my whole face. I just want to say the green primer is so much better than this one. Even though it leaves a little bit of a green cast, the foundation is laying better on this side than it is on this side. I feel like my pores look worse on this side, but I also think giving it like a couple minutes to do a little bit of setting itself really helped this side as well. I actually quite like the way my skin looks. It's just, this is like one of the most expensive foundations at Sephora. At that price point, I have to really be wowed in order to feel like it is worth it. Of course, I did not pay for this. Kelly gave it to me. So it's like, I don't have that buy-in, but I would hesitate to recommend it to you without being wowed. I have recommended more expensive foundations than this because those are foundations that have wowed me, that I thought were worth the money. If that's in your price range, if that's the thing you're looking for, you might like that foundation. I feel like less that way about this, although again, this is just like the literal first time I have it on my face. I did go back over the redness on the high points of my cheek. I feel like it built a little bit, but I feel like it was hesitant to build. I would say this is a lighter side of medium coverage that I'm getting. Hopefully it's reading on camera. The difference how this glow versus the Sigma skin tint glow, like there's this difference to it. It doesn't feel as artificial from this foundation. I think the whole thing about this is also that it's like has skincare ingredients in it. I actually think it's a good match. Again, this is the shade 6 Neutral, but I'm also like normally in a foundation range, I'm normally one of the fairest shades. So I don't know how many foundation shades are in this range off the top of my head. But if I'm 6, maybe if you have lighter skin than me, you might be able to find something in here. I do know that Gloria, the content creator on Instagram and TikTok who does a lot of content around the deep foundation, said that Patrick Ta did a really good job with the deepest foundation. Maybe he just did a really good job catering to undertones. I do think that this is like actually maybe one of the better matches. An update on the Victoria Beckham concealer. I continue to really enjoy this concealer. I don't love that. And you don't need this concealer. This is one of those things that if it's in your price range, you'll use it in 6 months and it could be like your everyday concealer. I like it. I have only had a good time with it. I let Amanda Z try it when we were in Palm Springs. She is notoriously picky with her concealer. She really liked it. But unlike the Patrick Ta, which again is my first time using it, I feel like the first time I put the Victoria Beckham concealer on, I was wowed by it. And then I have just continued to be wowed by the Victoria Beckham concealer. It is unfortunate. The feeling I have about it is kind of like the Lisa Eldridge skin tint. It's this kind of like thing that works just really well out of like nowhere, and it was not something that I was expecting to have such a strong feeling about. If you've watched my channel over the last couple of years, concealer has never excited me. It's not something I really go out of my way to buy. I've been testing 3 other concealers for the past couple of months, and you know why I haven't really talked about them that much on camera? Because I haven't really enjoyed them to the extent that I've enjoyed this, which is why you've seen this on camera now a handful of times. So just pointing that out. Just because I like it so much doesn't mean you need it or have to buy it. If you have a concealer that you love already and it really works well for you and you weren't looking for a new concealer at all, then you don't need it. I'm just giving my 2 cents to those people who were on the market for it and were interested in it. I'm gonna use the Sigma powder again. I was really impressed with this in my video the other day. Really thought it was nice and blurring. And I also didn't feel like it did too much mattifying. So I'm curious to use it on the Patrick Ta formula, and I'm also interested to use it on top of the Victoria Beckham concealer. The Victoria Beckham concealer so far has taken really well to powder. In case this is your first time watching me use it, the Victoria Beckham has a bit of a self-setting quality to it. If you have dry skin and you don't like to powder under your eyes, I don't think it's something that you would need to powder under your eyes with. And it has like a very skin finish. I think the Patrick Ta foundation is taking to the Sigma powder very well. The blur on this Sigma powder is very impressive. I feel like every, even mid-range powder I've tried has not done the blurring that this has done. I obviously love a very expensive blurring powder. I've been working on the Chantecaille Perfect Blur powder for the past couple of years, and I don't think this like does the same thing as that, but I think as a first powder, the amount of blur that it does, and I still see the glow of the foundation, which could be a credit to both the powder and the foundation. Like the foundation is glowing enough to, you'll see it through the powder. Besides unpowdered, I feel like I still have the glow, and I powdered all over my face. I don't have highlight or anything on, although I am going to be using liquid and cream everything else. That was my fault. I did that. It was my mistake. Now that it's powdered, I think the Patrick Ta foundation looks more my speed. I do like a glow to a foundation, but I think that that took it down to more of like the candlelight glow that I like, as opposed to being as glowy as this side. Feels more controlled over here. Whether or not I would like this foundation over a long period of time remains to be seen, but like freshly powdered, it doesn't look dry or cakey. It's took the powder well. My under eye looks really good with it, so the Victoria Beckham looks really good with it as well. Okay, in my last video, I was really unsure of the F08 from Sigma. This was PR that I got on the trip. I really like it for powder. And now I'm like, should I be using the ones I got from BK Beauty also as powder brushes? I also want to use this as a like foundation complexion brush too. I need to play with the old Givenchy formula a little bit more. I never felt like I was wowed on impact with that. I'm like a little bit wowed by the Sigma powder. It's been doing my requesting of it. I wish there was a pressed version of it. I don't really love fussing with loose powders. It's just not my favorite, except I have 3 of them in my drawers right now. So I told you that we would see some of this. I don't know if it's gonna gear with today's look, but we'll find out together. I have the Physicians Formula Butter Glow Liquid Highlighter, and I don't think it comes in any of their shades. Oh my god, 1.3 fluid ounces. My goodness. I was really unsure whenever Physicians Formula came to Palm Springs. I felt like they were showing us and demoing like products that would be really good for the summertime, but it's October. I mean, it was the end of September when I was there. I don't even know if this stuff will be available anymore by the time I get this up. I have learned over time, just from watching people review Physicians Formula, that their stuff has a scent to it, and it has like a coconutty scent to it. I don't dislike coconut scented stuff, so I don't find that repulsive, but I know that people who are sensitive to the scent of coconut, it's so coconutty. I just wiped it off my hand, and just like the primers from CoverGirl, it's leaving some micro shimmers behind. I'm not opposed to the way that looked, which is good. I can't imagine it beating my Auric Glow Lust. To be fair to this, I did powder before I put it on. It's not the worst I've had something look when I put a liquid on top of powder. I feel like it lifted a little. It's so funny because I'm like, whenever I try to show a highlighter lift, it's like I turn my face and it's just highlighters shining back at you. We got something going there. This is definitely glowier than the Typology thing that I used. I'm going to try the other side with my finger to see maybe if I can avoid lifting. They were demoing this on the body whenever we were in Palm Springs. Look at all the coverage that was on my redness. I'm going to take some more of the Patrick Ta foundation, mix it in with a little bit with the highlighter, and just tap it back over. I don't know, maybe that will do something. As it mixed in, especially with this foundation, I feel like it liked that. I think if you were putting this on bare skin, you wouldn't be having any issues. And it would be very pretty. I don't think I like this highlighter on my face, if I'm being honest with you. It doesn't say that it's a body highlighter. It just says it's a liquid highlighter. It's making my cheeks feel a little bit tight. You know, sometimes if you wash your face with like a very stringent cleanser, your face kind of just feels tight if you don't get to the moisturizing part fast enough. I feel like that's the feeling I'm getting on my cheeks. I didn't wipe them off or anything. I just added more foundation on top. I do think it looks really pretty. You know, I feel like as I'm getting older, my skin's getting more sensitive to things, so maybe the fragrance in there is making my skin feel tight. It's not all fragrances, but it is pretty potent in there. It doesn't feel like I'm having like an allergic reaction to it. It's just a little bit uncomfortable. Like, there's not like painful, just like a little bit of tightness. Not unlike, you know, if you're doing like an intense exfoliating mask, that kind of tightness. Yeah, but I don't feel compelled to wash it off. I'm going to apply some of my regular stuff to my cheek, and then we will get to playing with the Vamp palette. Let's talk about the Vamp palette from BellaBeautéBar. They were kind enough to send this to me in PR. This palette is really gorgeous. It's actually like not, I think, what you would expect. You have the reds, but you also, and this is something that BellaBeautéBar is so good at. They're so good at color stories because there's also like a lot of cool tones here for people who maybe don't want to always play with the reds. I'm not someone who uses a lot of red eyeshadow. We're gonna today. But I'm not someone who wears a lot of red. I also recently got the Poison Garden palette from them. One of the shades is missing because I didn't put it back. I took it on vacation with me. But I also have the Recently De-Influenced palette from them that I recently got. This palette I feel like has a very similar vibe. Not like color story, but like there's some cool tones here. There's some other tones here. Very gorgeous. BellaBeautéBar just kills it. It is the time for all of these palettes too. Not that you can't wear whatever you want whenever. There's some purple in that Vamp, which is great because it kind of really reflects what's in there. But I want to use the reds today. So we're going to do a red all over look. I'm gonna prime my eyes with the NARS Smudge Proof eyeshadow base. There's this beautiful bright red in here. I don't want it to be that red, so I'm not testing it for that. I'm just taking a large blending brush and I'm gonna use it as my transition. Although, even with my large blending brush, that pigmentation is very good. Something that's really hard to do with red eyeshadow, and what we'll see as I blend this out, is maintaining red as opposed to turning pink. It's blending beautifully. It's not patchy and I'm not getting any skipping, which I think for this vibrant of a color is very hard. There's so many times about BellaBeautéBar. Their colorful matte formula, besides the neons, which I didn't love, they're really easy to blend. You don't have to pack and blend. You can just gently build like I've been with this it's just a regular blending brush. Typically with other brands, with this kind of vibrant, I would need to like really pack it in, but I don't need to do that with this brand. Is it maintaining the bold redness? No, I do feel like it does look pink as I'm blending it out, which is fine by me. But if you were looking for like a bold, true red that was going to maintain as you blend, I don't know that this is going to be the one. I'm not a red eyeshadow aficionado, but I watch Haley. Her handle's Haley O. She's part of Beauty News. She loves red eyeshadow, and I've just heard her talk about red eyeshadow enough where I like people who are looking for red eyeshadow or looking for something very specific. I'm not that picky about red eyeshadow. Not a color I would use very often, but it is really pretty. Look at it. Wow. Okay, now I'm going to go into the shade Drained, and I'm just going to focus that on the outer portion of the lid and then blending the excess up into the first part of my crease. This shade's actually very pretty. These aren't the tones I would work with very often, but I could see myself doing this all over the lid and then maybe one of these beautiful red shimmers. This shadow is blending perfectly into the other shadow. It's also like this kind of dark red, maybe like a little bit burgundy leaning. That kind of eyeshadow can go awry pretty easily. My green eyes really love a red eyeshadow. In that very, very outer corner, I'm going to take the shade called Mikkelsen? I don't know. It is a sequined matte black with red shimmer in it, but I really want it to really deepen out the outer corner. What a beautifully pigmented black. I know sequin shadows aren't popular. There are sequin shadows also in the Poison Garden palette. There's this gray shade in that palette that has these slight blue shimmers, which I'm like so obsessed with. Like I love that shade. So I think a little bit in the blending, we lose some of the red sparkle. It is appearing more like maybe a satin black. I'm catching some of the red sparkle at some angles, but I don't know. It's not really maintaining them, but they're also not ending up elsewhere on my face, so I'm not really sure where they're going. I also think that maybe perhaps because of this type of formula, it's not blending as beautifully as the other two mattes did. It's not like really a struggle. It's not like badly blending. It's just like, just feel like it's not up to the usual blendability I get from the regular mattes. I'm trying to use it to deepen out the outer edge, and I just feel like it's not loving that. I am disappointed that I'm like losing some of the sequin-ness of it as well. Like, I know that not everyone's into a sequin shade, but if we're gonna throw red glitters in there, I would like to see them. So I wonder if that would work better as like maybe like a one and done, like really focused and smudged out on the line, like maybe as like a smudgy liner that would have a little bit of something going on in it. I don't feel like I had the same issue with the sequin shades in the Poison Garden. Okay, there are so many beautiful shimmers in here. I'm gonna just swatch some of the reds, and then there's, look at that, like the remnant. Well, I'm not a big hollow chrome fan, but I do think that of the ones I've tried, even though it's not my favorite thing, I think BellaBeautéBar is the brand that I've tried that has done it the best. Like, I'm actually willing to put their holochromes on my eyes, especially the ones in the palette. They sent me a couple holochromes that were singles, and I didn't feel like those were as good as the holochromes that they tend to put in their palettes. From the top to the bottom here, this is the shade Shadows. Then we have Salvatore, and then we have Hello Brother, and then we have Undead. I feel like, well, actually, I really like the top shade, and I think it will go. I mean, it's in with the reds. There is like red reflect in it, but I feel like I feel like on camera with the lights hitting it, you're really getting that red. I feel like IRL, it's pulling more of like a teal, which hopefully you're catching some of that teal on camera. But that's very cool. I mean, undead. Maybe I'll put that on the inner corner. I think that was the right choice. We'll do the sparkle cam in a second. Let me get this on the other eye. I am using one of the silicone applicators. At least with their formula, it works really well. I think it also works really well with Clina. It doesn't really work on firmly pressed shimmers. So I think what happened was there was still a remnant of whatever shade I used the silicone applicator with, because I feel like this eye is showing up more red. Do you see like there's some like blue in there? There's a little something extra there and I don't know what it is. I'm gonna take the shade Undead and I'm gonna apply it on like the inner third of my eye. Hell yeah. I'm gonna apply the City Beauty Beyond mascara. So when I was reviewing the footage where I put this on the first time, I was like, oh wow, it looks really good on camera. Not that it looked bad in person, but like, I feel like it looked so good on camera. And I feel like I was pretty dismissive of it. I did look up online. Their website doesn't say anything about it being like a lash growing serum in it. I'm not really sure why, like that's kind of all it says on the packaging, where it's like Beyond mascara, but like in what way? For lipstick today, although I'm not sure if this red's gonna go, but I'm gonna be using this shade from the Lip Bar. It is the shade Bawse Lady, but Boss is spelled B-A-W-S-E. This came from Dr. Ash and her makeup. I will try to remember to tag her down below. But in Palm Springs, we did this thing where we all brought 4 of our favorite thing. It didn't have to be makeup, but a lot of people did makeup. I mean, kind of like for obvious reasons. And this is what Ash brought. And so I picked it out. Just in case I don't end up keeping it, I'm gonna be using a disposable wand. I haven't I haven't applied a liquid lipstick. Ooh, girl, so long. I look like Ronald McDonald. I cannot zoom you in. Oh, hold on. I need hold on. I need to fix this. Like this is it's a catastrophe over here. That's a good red. That's a very pretty color red. It's really beautiful. It's incredibly pigmented. Like it's, wow, pigmented. It's a very comfortable matte lip. Even more comfortable than some of the stick mattes I've been trying recently. It's very lightweight. I need to make an effort to wear this in a situation where I think it's gonna work. I am gonna take it off only because I just feel like the eyes are where all the makeup is. So we need to keep the eyes where all the makeup is, but look at that. Wow. I'm gonna put on the Black Moon's Cosmetics Sinister Satin in the shade Omen. While also a bold lip, I think it's much more suitable for what happened here today. Let's go back to the beginning. The City Lips lip oil, I really like. It was a really good prep step, so I might just keep it over here by my vanity as a prep step. I don't feel like it did any plumping. Like, I feel like the regular City Lips lip plumper plumps. I just felt like this was really nourishing and it really prepped my lips very well. I could see why it would be really good for an overnight lip repair. So the 2 primers, I do think that the Plush Plump was the Plush Plump was a bit of a bust. I don't think that this was very good. I feel like my makeup on this side of my face didn't look as good as it did with the color corrected side. But I think that's for 2 reasons. One, obviously it didn't have the color correction, which obviously is gonna help whatever goes on top look a little more seamless. On that, the feeling of my skin on this side just wasn't as smooth and as ready for makeup as I feel like it was on the Cashmere Calm side. I don't think I need to play with this anymore. I just don't think it was as good as this. I will keep playing with this to see if I end up really loving it or feel myself reaching for it. So long, soldier, but I'll keep playing with this one. The Patrick Ta foundation. So now that it's been on my skin a little bit longer, I have the highlighter on a lot of my face, but on my forehead there isn't any, and I actually feel like my forehead looks really good. This foundation takes a second to really settle into itself, to really start doing what it really wants to do. Definitely intrigued. I'm going to play with this a lot more to really get my head wrapped around it. This is a permanent product, so if you are interested in it, there's no rush to get it. Wait for people to really settle into how they feel about it. This was just a first impressions for me. The Victoria Beckham concealer. I always lose this. I think the under eyes are my favorite part of my face today. It continues to impress me. The liquid highlighter from Physicians Formula. There's a lot to live up to. For this to have worked for me and any liquid illuminator going forward, it has to be on par with the Auric Glow Lust because that's just my favorite. And I'm not going to keep one around just to compare it to or anything like that. And this just isn't Auric Glow Lust. It didn't really apply well on top of my foundation. It lifted it. Glow Lust doesn't do that to me. So I'm okay to I'm going to pass this on as well. I think that I've been filming for an hour and a half. I'm ready to pass this on. I don't think I need to do any further testing on that. I don't think there's a world in which I would fall in love with it. I could use it as a primer, but I could also use Glow Lust as a primer. It just isn't as versatile for me. That's what I want the kind of thing to do. The Charlotte Tilbury Flawless Filter, the e.l.f. Halo Glow filter thing, those all do many things. That seemed very limited to what it could do, and I just am not interested in it. Sigma powder continues to impress me. Unexpected. I've been thinking about it. Sometimes on days where I don't do my makeup, or if I'm not filming or whatever, if I'm just not thinking about makeup, there's only a few things that I think about outside the realm of when I'm actually doing my makeup. And ever since I used this, I just have been thinking about it. I've been thinking about it. I was like, that was actually very, very good. And again, today it proved its worth. It's very, very good. It's a killer eyeshadow palette. So I didn't really do a look I would probably do with this palette today that I would do on the day-to-day. So I obviously still need to play with it some more, but with my experience today and the shadows I used, the red here and this red here worked beautifully. The sequin didn't perform as well as the regular mattes did. The beautiful shimmers are just as beautiful and shimmery as any other BellaBeautéBar shimmer that I have experienced. Very gorgeous. If you were looking for a Halloween palette that wasn't just black and red, this could maybe be a good option. I have a code with them. I think it's hautemesstom. It would save you 10% if you are on the market for a new eyeshadow palette. But if you are not, then you don't need this. Also, I just feel not to be rude to BellaBeautéBar or any brand that makes Halloween specific makeup, although I feel this is much more versatile than that. And I also feel that way about other fall palettes. It's just sometimes they can feel so specific, and it's just how often will you wear those colors outside of the holiday season? Because you're not going to catch me in this kind of eye outside of October. Do you know what I mean? The other shades though, there's the cool toned purples and grays in there, the blues. I think you'll find me other times of the year and something like that. Obviously, showing all of you the stuff, none of this was to entice you to buy any of this. This was just me testing it out. If you got some information from it that you needed, then that is great. But if you happen to be new to my channel, thank you so much for watching. My channel is mostly about loving my makeup collection as it currently is. I've done a couple new makeup videos in a row because I just kind of got a blast of PR and I want to get as much of it on camera as I can. I always circle back to things. I do a thing what I call, this term was coined by Hannah Louise Posted. She called it a reckoning. So I keep all of the makeup that I'm currently testing aside, and then I do a thing where I talk about and review in detail as much as I can. It tends to be a very long video where I review everything. It's an overhead video where I just show you, I swatch things, I talk to you about them. So that's normally the final review, and I either keep the item or I find it a new home. I would love to have you stick around if you're into that sort of thing. Make sure you like this video, share it with anyone you think might find it entertaining, or if I'm on Patreon and I have channel memberships. I do one additional video over there every month. If you're into that sort of thing, go ahead and check it out. Every patron and channel member gets the same exact video. There is a tier system, but I don't do additional content. If you want to help me out, feel free to. If you don't, then there's no pressure to. I'm just happy that you were here watching my channel. I have linked down below a link to help families in Gaza, and I also have a link to help people who were affected by Hurricane Helene. If you have the means to help those people, please do so. That's going to wrap up the video. Thank you so very much for watching. Remember to follow your hope, and you'll find me, and I'll see you in a video very soon. Go forth. Tits out.